Hey everyone, welcome back. Kappa Man here. Today's yokai was requested by Trazmac, who said, Tengu, I'd love to see you cover these Japanese heavenly dogs. Way to start off big, Trazmac, as the Tengu have a lot of history and influence in Japanese culture even to this day. So, let's not waste any time and dive into it, shall we? The Tengu got its start not in Japan, but China, as a creature called Tiangu, meaning heavenly dog. Although they share a similar name, this creature was quite different than the Tengu we know and love today. It resembled a dog, and was generally considered to be a very dangerous enemy of man. It was also seen as an omen of violence, as it would precede war and battle. It was even said that the Tiangu would eat the sun or moon during eclipses, and the only way to have it return them would be to beat dogs until finally it gave in and spit the sun or moon back out. Please don't beat dogs during eclipses. I guarantee this will not bring back the sun. Something both the Tiangu and the Tengu do have in common is they were both described as looking like shooting stars. In one of Japan's earliest books from the year 720, called the Nihon Shoki, or the Chronicles of Japan, there is what many consider to be the first mention of these deities. Here it is said that the Tengu appears in a shooting star, bringing with it war like its Chinese cousin. The Tengu's image has changed a lot since then, as it's no longer represented by a comet-riding dog, but rather two popular variations. It's possible that the Tengu's appearance morphed from a dog to a bird as it came to Japan because of the Garuda, a type of Hindu creature often spoken about in Buddhist writings. This mythological race is humanoid in appearance, but mixed heavily with bird features, like a beak and wings. Although the Garuda are generally more friendly than the Tengu, the visual similarities are quite striking. There's many other beasts with similar appearances and names as the Tengu, so the exact origin is messy at best. The kanji for Amanozako, a female deity that was written about in the 18th century, can be translated as Tengu deity, and also has a long nose and ears, but otherwise is very different than the Tengu. There's also the red-faced version, which is arguably the more popular image of the Tengu these days. The thick eyebrows, great pout, and suggestively long nose are often sold as masks, snacks, and anything else you can think of in modern-day Japan. The long-nosed Tengu is often confused with the deity Sarutahiko Okami, who has many shrines dedicated to him across Japan. He is often seen as the protector of martial arts, such as Aikido, as he is the deity of strength, guidance, and misogi, which is the practice of standing under a waterfall to be purified. Often, Sarutahiko is also shown to have an identical red face as the Tengu, so it's understandable why people would confuse the two. The Tengu are no strangers to fashion, and are oftentimes depicted in the same style as priests. Because of their connection to the religious group Yamabushi, who practice Shugendo, a style of training and meditation that takes place in the mountains, the Tengu wear the same robes as these practitioners, along with a type of small hat called the tokin, and a sash called the yuigesa. They have a priest's staff called a shakujo, which is topped with a metal tip and several rings, and they also carry a ha-uchiwa, which is a fan that has the ability to shrink or enlarge a person's nose. So eat your heart out, Pinocchio. The Tengu's shoes of choice are none other than the single-toothed geta, also conveniently enough referred to as Tengu geta, which gives them an even taller and overpowering appearance. The earlier stories of the Tengu weren't so flattering, which depicted them as causing trouble for practitioners of Buddhism. Disguised as priests, the Tengu would sneak into temples and steal their goods, possess women to try and lure priests off the pure paths. They would also carry other priests off, leaving them stranded in remote areas, and they would encourage others to worship the Tengu. Later on, around the 12th and 13th centuries, the Tengu were thought to be the ghosts of priests who had not properly followed the teachings of the Buddhist scriptures and come back to cause havoc for the living. In Hogen Monogatari, or The Tale of Hogen, a collection of tales related to the Hogen Rebellion released around 1320, there is a story of Emperor Sutoku. He had been forced down from the throne by his father, and later played an important role in the Hogen Rebellion in hopes of removing the then Emperor Go Shirakawa. But Sutoku was defeated and sent to Shikoku, where he eventually died, but not before swearing revenge by returning to Japan as a demon, becoming a Tengu to haunt the country. Due to these and other stories, the Tengu became synonymous with arrogance and vanity, and to this day, you may hear Japanese use the expression Tengu ni naru, or to become a Tengu. This is often said about people who are too prideful, but it must be a bit positive, I think. People here say it to me all the time. Speaking of arrogance, the type of person you were in life could affect the type of Tengu you became after death. As I said before, Buddhist followers that failed to properly follow the scriptures would often become Tengu because they couldn't go to hell nor ascend to heaven. This applied not only to priests, but regular men and women as well. Those with great knowledge became Dai Tengu, or Great Tengu, who were more human-like in appearance, and those that were foolish or ignorant became Ko Tengu, or Small Tengu, who were more bird-like. They're not all bad though. Despite falling into the path of arrogance, some Tengu were depicted as actually protecting Buddhism, and these were accepted and appreciated by the priests. This train of thought continued on through generation after generation, where at one point in the 17th century came the story of a Tengu that changed its form to that of a Yamabushi and began to train in one of the Zen temples. One of the monks guessed his true form after a while, and the Tengu transformed back, but instead of being violent, he continued to protect the temple and its people. What a nice guy. There's a lot of fun stories of the Tengu, like the boy who was playing with a piece of bamboo, looking through it pretending he could see far-off lands. A curious Tengu saw this and believed the boy, and offered to trade his magic cloak in exchange for the bamboo, which the boy happily agreed to. It turns out this cloak could render the boy invisible, which he then used to get into mischief. Or how about the story of the man who gets the Tengu's magic fan, and uses it to secretly grow the nose of the woman he wants to marry? He tells her he can cure her now inhuman-sized nose in exchange for her hand in marriage, which she of course agrees to. One night, as the man was dozing off, he accidentally uses the fan on himself, extending his nose up into the heavens. To be honest, I couldn't possibly cover all the stories of the Tengu in this video, and I encourage you to seek some out yourself. They're usually quite interesting and help you get a better understanding of old Japanese folktales and pop culture references. So I think I'll leave things at that, now that your Tengu whistle is wetted. Oh my. And speaking of wet, in the next episode we'll learn about the viewer-requested Akaname, a yokai that would happily clean up after your bath with its tongue. See you then. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have a yokai you'd like to see me cover, please let me know in a comment below on Facebook or Twitter, and I'll add it to the list. Otherwise, see you next time.